Hey all, today I'm going to tell you how I bought my first property at 23 years old and also teach you the skills that you need to buy your first property at 23 or even younger. Also, just a quick disclaimer, this property was bought with my own money and I also live in one of the most expensive parts of the UK. I'm going to be giving you my top tips for earning more money, understanding your credit score, understanding how mortgages work, understanding the costs involved, and also if you stay to the end, I'll give you my top tips for saving more money. Now let's get into the video. There are a number of top tips for earning more money. The first one is to ask for a raise. If you've been doing well at your job, there's no issue with asking your boss for a slight raise or some more hours if you work a part-time job. You could also start a new, more specialised career, such as being an accountant, a banker, a lawyer, a doctor, or a vet. Many of these careers require you to go to university, but more and more frequently these careers are becoming available through the apprenticeship scheme. You could also pick up an additional part-time job, such as being a delivery driver or working with Uber. You could also start a more commission-based role, such as a car salesman, a real estate agent, or a recruiter. These jobs are advantageous because they have no limit per se, as the more hours you work or the more effort you put in, the more money you'll earn. The only downside to these jobs is they often come with a low base salary, and if you don't put in the effort, you're not going to make a lot of money. You could also consider starting a new business, such as a YouTube channel or a business in your current career space. This has the advantage of being able to work for yourself and choose your own hours. The only downside is it's often quite hard to start a new business compared to working for an already existing and successful business. You could also consider claiming tax back, which is probably if you work a trade-based job. You could also consider using Fiverr and using your skills such as artwork, selling artwork or creating graphics. You could also finally consider selling items on Depop or eBay. If you have a lot of junk lying around the house, this is an easy way to make a few £1,000s quite quickly. Now, on to understanding credit score. Credit score is very important if you'll be buying a house using a mortgage, which is what most people do and what I've done as well. Credit score is also very important for getting a loan for items such as a car purchase or starting your own business. Effectively, credit score is a scale between 0 and 999. Most people don't know what a credit score is and don't have any credit. The person that doesn't have any credit will likely have a score of around 400 to say 600. I'll be creating more videos in the future explaining credit score in more detail and how you can improve your credit score. But effectively, to improve your credit score, you need credit history, which is where you make monthly direct debit payments, such as a phone bill or a credit card payment. There's a lot of benefits to having a high credit score, as these people will get the best rates. And actually, if you fail to make your direct debit payments on time, your credit score will get worse. This means you'll have higher than average interest rates and be paying more money over time and more money on a monthly basis. Credit cards and other loans boost your credit score the fastest, and I'll make more videos in the future about credit cards and which ones are the best, because there's a lot of different credit cards. Some are introductory for people that have no credit or bad credit. Some actually also give you rewards, such as free airline travel and free airline lounge stays, and some are also 0% interest credit cards or 0% balance transfer credit cards. Now, on to understanding how a mortgage works. In the UK, a bank will typically lend you 4 to 4.5 times your salary, your annual salary including any commissions or bonuses that you earn. For example, if you earn £100,000 a year, including bonus, a bank will typically lend you about £450,000. If you earn £50,000 a year, a bank will typically lend you £225,000. You can increase this by buying with a partner. For example, if you both earn £50,000, together you earn £100,000 and therefore the bank will probably lend you about £450,000. Banks might lend you slightly less as a couple, but altogether they will definitely lend you a lot more than purchasing on your own. However, this isn't the only thing that banks consider. Banks also consider your affordability, which is, can you afford to pay that mortgage each month as well? For example, if you have a lot of other monthly payments going out, such as a car payment or a loan or a lot of bills each month, the bank will lend you considerably less. A bank basically looks to see if you can afford to pay a mortgage if that mortgage increased to 7% interest, and mortgages are typically around 1 to 3%. There are also a lot of different types of mortgage products out there as well, such as residential mortgages, which are only really for buying your own house, buy-to-let mortgages, which are for buying to lend out a property, commercial mortgages, which are for buying a commercial property such as an office block or a warehouse, and specialist mortgages, which take a lot of different forms and can be used for property flipping, and can also be from private money lenders such as just very wealthy individuals. However, if you watch some of my other videos about buying in the gap, you will learn about how you can use a residential mortgage to purchase your own home, do that property up and then sell it in the future, which is just a slightly longer drawn out version of buy to sell. But it comes with the advantages of using a residential mortgage product, which typically features a lower monthly interest rate, meaning a lower monthly repayment, and also the ability to use a smaller deposit size, which means you don't actually have to save up quite as much money. There's a lot of differences about these mortgage products as well. The main difference is the amount of deposit that you're required to use. For example, for a residential purchase, you only really need to put 5 or 10% of the property value down as a deposit, whereas for commercial mortgages and buy-to-let mortgages and specialist mortgages, you typically need between 20 and 25%. So therefore, you can obviously see it's beneficial to use a residential mortgage when buying a property. Also, residential mortgages typically have an interest rate of around 1 to 1.5%, whereas commercial, buy-to-let and specialist mortgages feature 2 to 3% or even charge on a monthly basis, such as 0.7% a month, which is around 8 or 9% a year. In the UK, mortgages are often fixed for 2, 5 or 10 years. After this period, they turn into a variable rate mortgage, which is negative as the interest rate is much higher on variable rate mortgages. Instead of 1 to 1.5% a year, they're around 4% a year. And because it's a variable rate mortgage, that interest rate can go up or down as well. Therefore, it's often wise to refinance onto a different mortgage product after your teaser period of 2, 5 or 10 years expires. There's also a lot of fees involved in setting up a mortgage, such as survey fees, setup fees and early repayment charges, which is where you pay off the mortgage before that 2, 5 or 10 year period finishes. Now, the really important thing that most people forget about mortgages or don't understand is that you don't actually have to repay all the interest. Say if you took out a mortgage for £200,000, over the entire 30-year period of the mortgage or 25-year period of the mortgage, you might have to repay £380,000. But interest is charged monthly, and therefore if you want to repay the entire mortgage after say 7 years, you only pay 7 years of interest, you don't pay the additional 23 years of interest. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, leave me a comment down below of any further videos you'd like to see in the future or any additional questions you want answered. Alternatively, join me in the real estate investing course by sending an email to the link down below for only £99, where you can get a lot of further information and any additional information I produce in the future as well. On to understanding the costs in a bit more detail. The number one cost you're going to incur is legal fees. When you purchase a property, you have to employ solicitors or a surveyor to help guide you through that purchase. These fees are often £1,000 to £1,500 on their own. The next kind of fee is obviously the mortgage fees, the setup fees, the survey fees, and your early repayment charges. Setup fees are about £1,000. Early repayment charges can be up to £1,000 to £5,000 if you repay your mortgage early, or unless you purchase a mortgage that doesn't include any early repayment charges. Survey fees are a bit different because there's 3 different types of survey. There's your valuer's survey, which is just for the bank, which is often free to £200. There's your home buyer's survey, which is between £200 and £500, which you actually get a report to tell you about the property you're purchasing. And the last is a home buyer's or builder's inspection, which is about £500 to £1,000, which gives you a detailed report on the property you're going to purchase. There's also some additional costs such as buildings and contents insurance. You must have insurance when you purchase a property. There's also council tax, monthly service charge and ground rent costs as well. Finally, you've then got fit out or refurb costs as well, such as if you need to put in a new kitchen or a new bathroom or even buy a sofa, TV, coffee tables, chairs, you name it. Now, on to my top tips for saving money. The first tip is be more frugal and think, do I really need this? Do I really need to purchase this holiday or weekend away? Do I really need to purchase this really expensive designer bag or belt? Do I really need to purchase this new car or new bike? Probably not. You can probably make do with what you're using at the moment. If you've got an old bike, keep it. You don't need to upgrade. If you're travelling via train, you probably don't need a car as well. My next tip is to make some less expensive option choices. Instead of buying that designer £400 t-shirt, you can probably make do with a Primark t-shirt for a £5 or even £3, or a Topman t-shirt for a tenner to 20 quid. You don't need to go to an expensive, fancy 5-star restaurant. You can probably get away with going to just a regular local restaurant or even a fast food place. I'd also suggest a lifestyle change as well. Going out and drinking every weekend sure is fun. You can go out every weekend and not drink and probably save an extra 200 quid a weekend, which is 800 quid. Also, if you take drugs, Nothing against that. You can probably just have just as much fun without taking the drugs and also save another £200 a weekend as well. So that's up to £1,600 a month saved just by not drinking and taking drugs. It's also probably worth making some supermarket choices or taking advantage of supermarket discounts as well. Instead of buying the main brand Kellogg's Rice Krispies, just buy some Tesco's Rice Krispies or Lidl Rice Krispies. And if they've got, an offer 2 for £1 or 3 for £1, take advantage and stock up a little bit. And now my number one tip, if you know you can't be trusted with money each month, is to open a separate bank account. If you currently bank with Nationwide, open a NatWest account but don't download the NatWest app. That way it's much harder for you to get hold of your money. At the start of the month after payday, transfer the majority of that or a good proportion of that to your separate account, and that way you know you won't be able to spend it. If you want to learn more about purchasing property and investing from a young age, then continue watching some of my other videos and subscribe to my channel and ding the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Cheers.